In sociology, post-materialism is the transformation of individual values from materialist, physical and economic to new individual values of autonomy and self-expression. Post-materialism is a tool in developing an understanding of modern culture. It can be considered in reference of three distinct concepts of materialism. The first kind of materialism, and the one in reference to which the word post-materialism is used most often, refers to materialism as a value system relating to the desire for fulfillment of material needs and an emphasis on material luxuries in a consumerist society. A second referent is the materialist conception of history held by many socialists, most notably Marx and Engels, as well as their philosophic concept of dialectical materialism. The third definition of materialism concerns the philosophical argument that matter is the only existing reality. The first concept is sociological, the second is both philosophical and sociological, and the third is philosophical. Depending on which of the three above notions of materialism are being discussed, post-materialism can be an ontological post-materialism, an existentialistic post-materialism, an ethical post-materialism or a political sociological post-materialism, which is also the best known. History. The sociological theory of post-materialism was developed in the 1970s by Ronald Inglehart. After extensive survey research, Inglehart postulated that the Western societies under the scope of his survey were undergoing transformation of individual values, switching from materialist values, emphasizing economic and physical security, to a new set of post-materialist values, which instead emphasized autonomy and self-expression. Inglehart argued that rising prosperity was gradually liberating the publics of advanced industrial societies from the stress of basic acquisitive or materialistic needs. Observing that the younger people were much more likely to embrace post-materialist values, Inglehart speculated that this silent revolution was not merely a case of a life cycle change, with people becoming more materialist as they aged, but a genuine example of generational replacement causing intergenerational value change. The theory of intergenerational change is based on two key hypotheses, the scarcity hypothesis, the socialization hypothesis. The scarcity hypothesis Inglehart assumed that individuals pursue various goals in something akin to a hierarchical order. While people may universally aspire to freedom and autonomy, the most pressing material needs like hunger, thirst and physical security have to be satisfied first, since they are immediately linked with survival. According to Inglehart's interpretation of Maslow's hierarchy of human goals, while scarcity prevails, these materialistic goals will have priority over post-materialist goals like belonging, esteem, and aesthetic and intellectual satisfaction. However, once the satisfaction of the survival needs can be taken for granted, the focus will gradually shift to these non-material goods. The socialization hypothesis the relationship between material conditions and value priorities is not one of immediate adjustment. A large body of evidence indicates that people's basic values are largely fixed when they reach adulthood, and change relatively little thereafter. Therefore, cohorts which often experienced economic scarcity with ceteris paribus place a high value on meeting economic needs and on safety needs. On the other hand, cohorts who have experienced sustained high material affluence start to give high priority to values such as individual improvement, personal freedom, citizen input in government decisions, the ideal of a society based on humanism, and maintaining a clean and healthy environment. Together, these two hypotheses carry the implication that, given long periods of material affluence, a growing part of society will embrace post-materialist value systems, an implication which has been indeed borne out internationally in the past 30 years of survey data. The post-material orientations acquired by each cohort during socialization have been observed to remain remarkably steady over the time frame of multiple decades, being a more stable value system in contrast to the more volatile political and social attitudes. Measuring post-materialism There are several ways of empirically measuring the spread of post-materialism in a society. A common and relatively simple way is by creating an index from survey respondents' patterns of responses to a series of items which were designed to measure personal political priorities. If you had to choose among the following things, which are the two that seem the most desirable to you? Maintaining order in the nation. Giving people more say in important political decisions. Fighting rising prices. Protecting freedom of speech. On the basis of the choices made among these four items, it is possible to classify our respondents into value priority groups, ranging from a pure acquisitive type to a pure post-bourgeois type, with several intermediate categories. The theoretical assumptions and the empirical research connected with the concept of post-materialism have received considerable attention and critical discussion in the human sciences. Amongst others, the validity, the stability, and the causation of post-materialism has been doubted. The so-called Inglehart index has been included in several surveys. The Times series in Olbus is particularly comprehensive. From 1980 to 1990 the share of pure post-materialists increased from 13 to 31% in West Germany. After the economic and social stress caused by German reunification in 1990 it dropped to 23% in 1992 and stayed on that level afterwards. The Olbus sample from the less affluent population in East Germany show much lower portions of post-materialists. International data from the 2000 World Values Survey show the highest percentage of post-materialists in Australia, followed by Austria, Canada, Italy, Argentina, United States, Sweden, Netherlands, Puerto Rico etc. In spite of some questions raised by these and other data, measurements of post-materialism have prima facie proven to be statistically important variables in many analyses. As increasing post-materialism is based on the abundance of material possessions or resources, it should not be mixed indiscriminately with asceticism or general denial of consumption. In some way post-materialism may be described as super-materialism. German data show that there is a tendency towards this orientation among young people, in the economically rather secure public service, and in the managerial middle class. Recently, the issue of a second generation of post-materialism appearing on the scene of worldwide civil society, to a large extent conceived as their positive ideological embodiment, has been brought up by cultural scientist Roland Benedicta in his 7-volume book series Post-materialismus. See also, Antonio Gramsci, Postmodernity, Reflexive Modernization, Self-expression Values, Consumerism, Affluenza, To Have or To Be? Gross National Happiness, Abraham Harold Maslow, John Kenneth Galbraith, Anthony Giddens, World Values Survey, Material Feminism, Neo-Marxism, Historical Revisionism, Integral Theory, Generational Replacement. Notes. References. External links, 50 Possible Ways to Challenge Over-Commercialism by Albert J. Fritsch, S.J., Ph.D., An Ontological Existential Post-Materialism. http://www.postconsumerism.com/